Lewis here with Status Coup. We are just over 3 months since the train derailment here in East Palestine, Ohio. Just behind me here, the ongoing cleanup effort is still in progress. As we stand right now, the south side of the tracks have been fully removed, fully replaced. All of the soil has been removed from that area and replaced. Now they are moving on to the north side of the tracks. That progress has not really started yet. We'll try to give you a couple glimpses along the way as we're going to go on a bit of a tour of East Palestine, again, just after 3 months later. You can see a lot of the soil mounds that we saw the last time we were in town about a month ago have gone down quite a bit. There is still some here. There's also lots of water removal happening. It was all raining this morning, and we actually saw trucks sucking water up out of some drainage areas and whatnot in some of the facilities behind us and close by. So yeah, I mean, the process is continuing on here in East Palestine. We're going to continue to follow the story, but for now we're going to make a couple stops around town and show you some of the updates in person as to what is actually going on. Alrighty, so we are right now at the entrance to the city park in East Palestine. I'm standing on what used to be the temporary dam that was in place here. On our first trip here, there were several of the water aeration devices all up this creek, which is Leslie Run. To my left here, Sulfur Run meeting Leslie Run in this area. And even on the other side of the bridge over here, on our second trip, there were more aerators as well as all sorts of kind of ripple devices as well. Not ripple devices, but socks and whatnot and sleeves that were meant to capture some of the contamination. Obviously, at this point, all of the aeration devices are gone. All of that sort of equipment is now gone from the park here, despite the fact that many residents are reporting issues in the creek still, some of which we've spoken with already, many of which we're still going to continue to speak with over the next couple days. Very notably, just out of sight up here, and we'll walk up there in a second, is the site of the Easter egg hunt that happened a couple weeks back in East Palestine that we talked to you all about. Let's walk up the hill. We can show exactly where that was. Alrighty, so we're now at the top of the hill here in the East Palestine City Park. Behind me is the tennis courts. That is where the actual Easter egg hunt took place. In my opinion, that was a pretty hasty decision that probably could have waited. It could have been done in another place outside of town, just out of an abundance of caution. The creeks that we showed you at the bottom of the hill here still had aeration going on. There were still aeration devices spitting the water up into the air. Appropriate testing was not necessarily happening at the time. There was a few results released from different places in the park. But again, out of an abundance of caution, we're talking small children doing an Easter egg hunt. All of these folks had to come drive up the hill here, walk up the hill here to come to this. Probably an event that didn't need to happen. Not to mention that in this park, there was also storage of a lot of the equipment used for cleaning the creeks and whatnot up in this area, so there was other chances for potential contamination in the area as well. Let's go ahead and move on to the next stop. So now we're literally in downtown East Palestine. Right behind me here is Sulfur Run. Sulfur Run was the creek that essentially runs right from ground zero through downtown East Palestine, behind multiple neighbors' yards, and literally goes underground right here, underneath our feet, and underneath the East Palestine Municipal Building, as well as several other businesses throughout downtown here. This creek had aeration going on right back here the last time we were here, the time before that as well. Again, all of that has been picked up at this point. That doesn't really mean that the creeks are clean. I'm not sure why they've picked them up if they thought that that was working, because unfortunately a lot of these chemicals are still being found in the waters here in Sulfur Run, as well as further downstream into Leslie Run. And as we recently reported, in our interview with Aaron Bragg, some of these chemicals are being detected, in the month of April, still down in as far down as the Ohio River in some places. So the aeration devices are no longer here anymore. Probably, makes some sense. It shouldn't have been right here in the first place, considering how many people are right in this area. It's just another look at what's going on here in East Palestine and how it's changed over time. We'll continue on to the next stop. Alrighty, we are now just on the other side here of town. Downtown is just off to my right. This is now Sulfur Run, again, running right underneath the road here, and running on the other side eventually by several homes. One of the homes in this area is where resident Jamie Wallace, who we've spoken to a bunch of times, lives. It's also the area near where Jordan, who we spoke with yesterday, lives. The creek, again, still contaminated. There was all sorts of aeration going on in this area. None of that is here anymore. At this point, like I said, there is no more aeration going on. Again, there's pros and cons to that. The con is the water is still not clean, so that is a step that is not happening anymore. The pro is now this stuff is not being launched up into the air again, where the chemicals in the air or the water will separate, potentially causing the contaminated air then to be blowing near all of these homes where people are clearly walking. Again, we're right on the edge of downtown here, so the first time we were here, it was a little wild to see all of it happening literally right in the edge of downtown. So all of that at this point has been removed. We still do have the signs up that say keep out, so I guess that's a small improvement, but the cleanup looks to be done here. We are getting reports that there's supposed to be some sort of sediment cleaning process that's going on. No real answers as to what that is, but we'll definitely continue to look into that. With that, we'll head on to the next stop. So we're at another spot here towards the end of East Clark Street. We've got the tracks behind me here. There's actually some machinery moving around dirt still. We were on the other side over there. We were asked not to be over there. Didn't see any signage or anything like that saying otherwise, but alas, we are now on this side of the entryway here. So essentially, the far side of the tracks behind me, this is kind of the end of where the soil was removed, new tracks replaced. From here, all the way running in this direction towards where the derailment actually happened. What is going to start happening in the next couple days here is the tracks closer to us from here and running in that direction are going to be removed. They're going to be having to go through and remove soil from over on this side of the tracks now. And that's when we're going to start to see more giant piles of dirt starting to build up again, like we saw the last time we were here. Right now, those piles have gone down quite a bit as this soil is being shipped all over the place, which has been a contentious debate as to where a lot of it is going. So that process on this side of the tracks is just going to get starting soon. We also now, this is new, all of these black pipes that are running all over the place here, presumably moving water back and forth. There are lots of contaminated water being hauled out of this area. There's been some giant blue holding tanks that many of you have likely seen in images where this water is going before being shipped off site. So presumably that is what all of this is for. Again, just another spot here in East Palestine where the cleanup process is still going on. One last thing I'll point out, these have been here the whole time here, but we've got two of the air monitoring devices going on. There are issues with these devices. You do have two of them. The one on the right is going to be from CTEH, which is the contractor hired by Norfolk Southern. The device on the left is going to be the EPA's device. Again, a whole host of issues with some of the air sampling data going on here, but we'll save that for another day. But in general, this has been a little bit of a tour of some of these sites in East Palestine, more up to date. We're 3 months out. Still very clearly an ongoing cleanup going on, even what you can just see behind me here, as well as in some of these other locations. Unfortunately, after speaking with dozens of residents on this trip and past trips, seeing a lot of these places firsthand again 3 months later, this is still clearly a mess. There is a lot of work that needs to be done. There is not a lot of help coming to the folks who live in East Palestine, however. Basic things that they should have been getting are not happening still. They're still needing to fight tooth and nail at the assistance center for money. Some people are being denied money in a lot of cases. We've got people needing to fight tooth and nail to get vinyl chloride urine tests because the CDC is putting up some barriers in that regard, making it difficult for doctors to prescribe these tests, and folks needing to really fight to be able to get them. We've got folks who are still dealing with issues in regards to moving from hotel to hotel each time, who want to sell their homes, but the value of their home has dropped like a rock since this happened. So unfortunately, there is a lot of inaction from our politicians at the state level here in the state of Ohio, in the state of Pennsylvania, as well as at the federal level, where the Biden administration has failed to act. A lot of the senators in Congress, senators in the House and in the Senate have failed to act. It's been 3 months. Where is the help? That's the major question that a lot of folks in East Palestine still have. Stay tuned. This is our 3rd trip to East Palestine. We're some of the only folks who continue to come back here. I can tell you that Jordan and I stay in touch with these folks, some of them on a daily, weekly basis, even while we're gone. If you're able to help support actually having somebody like me, somebody like Jordan, and others on the ground in some of these places to make sure that these stories are told, please consider supporting Status Coup, becoming a member, subscribing to us, all of those things. It really makes a difference. Thank you all so much for watching all of this coverage we've been providing from East Palestine, as well as Jordan's coverage from Flint and Kalamazoo on this reporting trip. We really appreciate the support. Thank you.